I'm going to begin. All right, thank you. So this is our regular meeting. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners, April 2nd, 2020. The first time we've ever had a virtual meeting, by the way. And so we are going to try to do this in as abbreviated a version as we can because we're not sure of the internet connection. So we'll kind of click through the agenda here. I'm going to skip over introductions. It's safe to say all three commissioners are on the line plus staff. Um, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. And I don't know if we have, nor do I know if we need a graphic. So let's just do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. We generally also have silent prayer at the beginning of our meetings. And I do want to say, and I know we're going to hear from Greg Kesterman, the Commissioner of Health, but as of yesterday, we have lost 3 people in Hamilton County. We are in the middle of a public health crisis. As we all know, COVID-19 is ravaging the country. It is ravaging our community. Hamilton County is no exception. And so we have 154 cases who have tested positive, or individuals who have tested positive in Hamilton County. 28 of those individuals are hospitalized, and 3, as of this moment, have passed away. And so I was just saying that it feels like we've shifted. We've been doing a lot of work related to budget and capacity and PPE, but today we have to talk about losing people, and it feels like a bit of a gut punch for the county. So I'm going to read a very brief statement that I read earlier on behalf of the commission. So it's with a heavy heart on behalf of all of Hamilton County that I extend our deepest sympathies to the family and friends of our neighbors who died. I also extend our sympathies and support to all of those in Hamilton County who are battling this illness. I think Greg will illuminate, a little bit about these individuals. But I think, we remember that they were, a dad, a brother, a friend, a colleague, a neighbor to people in this community. And it is a significant loss for Hamilton County. So does anybody else, before Greg goes, would any of the other commissioners like to comment?
Thank you, Madam President. I didn't know if you had my statement there with yours. You're welcome to read that. But of course, my condolences go out to the families and friends and anyone connected to these individuals. And we will continue to do all we can do as a county to keep everyone safe. And we just pray that the deaths, we don't know what's going to happen, but we hope that with doing the things, the precautions that we have said need to happen, that they will not continue to rise in a level that we just don't even want to think about. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, I as well extend my heartfelt condolences to the family and friends and those associated with those that we have lost. And I just hope that our community stays safe, stay in the house, and take care of yourself. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you both. Greg Kesterman is with us, the Commissioner of Health. Greg, please bring us up to date.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I would like to also, on behalf of Hamilton County Public Health, express our deepest sympathies to the families and friends of the patients that have passed away. Obviously, these deaths are tragic, and we're doing everything in our power and public health's power to flatten the curve. And I know many people in the community are really taking this serious, and that will save lives. So I really, my heart goes out to these families. Yesterday, we reported on 2 deaths. A gentleman in his 50s, he had underlying health conditions, and another gentleman in his 60s with underlying health conditions. Today at 2 o'clock, our numbers on our website will include 1 additional individual. It is an 80-year-old or a gentleman in his 80s. We do not know at this time, just because the information is new, if there were other health conditions that might have impacted his passing. Ohio, as of yesterday at 2 p.m., had 2,547 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Of those, 679 were hospitalized and 222 were in intensive care units. In addition, the state reported yesterday 65 deaths. Here in Hamilton County yesterday at 2 p.m., we had 154 cases countywide. 88 of those were in the jurisdiction served by Hamilton County Public Health. I do know those numbers will continue to rise. I know today's numbers for us will go up over 15 today at 2 p.m. So just in a half an hour, we'll see those numbers increase. So I wanted to reiterate, particularly in the case of one of the individuals that passed away, the testing, the individual passed away a few days ago on I believe the end of March. I don't actually recall at this moment the exact day, but it took a few days to get the test results back. And we found out yesterday of his passing was because of COVID-19. As a result of instances like this, Director Acton has yesterday put a statewide order in place that anyone that is in the hospital getting testing performed, those tests must be submitted to either the Ohio Department of Health laboratory or a laboratory at an Ohio hospital. The goal of this order is to significantly improve testing speeds and to allow for physicians to have the knowledge that they might need to better diagnose and to maybe change some of the care that they're giving to a patient. We know there's no cure for COVID-19, so I'm not saying that that knowledge might have prevented the deaths from occurring, but I do think doctors, when they have the correct diagnoses, are able to make better decisions about what they're doing. Dr. Acton stressed yesterday the measures we're taking are starting to show an impact. We're starting to see, at least in the preliminary data, that the curve is being flattened. We know that this will impact, though, how long we have to keep our hard work up here in Hamilton County and throughout Ohio. They're predicting that the peak will not happen now until mid to late April, and that means we'll be able to save lives. During the press conference that Commissioner Driehaus discussed earlier, I really want to just reiterate a couple points. We ask businesses to really think hard when they're making employees work about how they can protect their employees. We are asking that businesses really make sure that they feel that they are essential and are not trying to stretch the law. And we are open to taking any complaints at our office when we do receive a complaint of a business that's non-compliant. The other part of this, though, each of us as citizens has a responsibility. If we are going to leave the house, we should first make sure that we really should be leaving the house. Is this an essential item that I need to go out and purchase? Is it a pharmaceutical or food that my family needs right now? Or am I doing it because I'm bored? And if the answer is because I'm bored, we should think twice about going out. If you show up to a store and it's packed, maybe you think twice about going in, because the employees inside that store are probably feeling uncomfortable. And the last comment I'll make before I turn it over for questions is that us as parents as well have a responsibility. When we're sending our kids out to the park, we need to make sure that they know that they're not to hang out with other members from other households. It's okay for brothers and sisters to play together or people who live within your household, but it's really time that we individually take responsibility and try and continue to flatten that curve to protect Ohioans. With that, Commissioner, I'll turn it over for any questions or things you'd like me to cover in more detail.
Thank you. And thank you, Greg. Thank you for your team for working 24/7 on, all of what you are doing, because I know that you are gathering information, you're tracing individuals that have come in contact with somebody that's tested positive, which takes a great deal of time, particularly as the numbers rise, but you're also answering questions about workplaces from both employers and employees. So I know it's been a lot of work and a lot of strain on your staff. And so please convey the thanks of the county commissioners to your staff. We are thinking of them. They're in our prayers, and we are very grateful for the work that they're doing.
Thank you very much. I'll take that back to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Do the other commissioners have questions or comments for the health commissioner?
Thank you, Madam President. No comments other than what you just said about our full appreciation for what they're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
Same here, Greg. You guys are doing a great job and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate the support of the commission as well. This is a team effort, and all of us working together are really making an impact. So thank you, and I'll share that with our team.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate it. Okay, so one other thing, Nick Crosley is not with us, and I asked, he asked if he needed to be on. The one thing he was going to report on was the tour of Duke that happened yesterday. So, in a nutshell, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, the city, the county. Greg was there, public health was there to take a look at that facility to assess whether or not that would be the best place for expanded capacity for the medical systems. So they are doing the assessment right now. The idea is to be ready when the surge hits. And as Greg mentioned, we're a few weeks away from that, but we want to have that ready to go when we have the need. So that work is underway, and I think that's what Nick would have conveyed to the group. So moving through the agenda, then, thank you, Greg. Moving through the agenda. Oh, one other thing, we're doing. I'm doing daily briefings at 10 o'clock in the morning, trying to keep people in the loop as information comes in. Next week, I think we're going to go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll go down a little bit, and if need be, we'll ramp back up. But just want to make people aware of that. Then, so I'm going to now ask. We skipped over the silent prayer, and I do. I wanted to make sure that we take a moment of silence for the 3 individuals who have passed away in Hamilton County. I'm going to now move that we approve of the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Okay. I'm sorry. Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let's move to the public hearings. We've got 2 of them. I'm going to move that we open the hearing to consider zone case Miami 2020-01, James Landing Retail Form Double D, planned multiple residence to Double E, planned retail.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you. Is Brian Snyder on the line to walk us through this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Brian.
So this is a public hearing for a zone change in Miami Township. It's case 2020-1. This is a request for a zone map amendment from DD planned multiple residence to Double E planned retail. You should be able to see the PowerPoint slide on the screen.
We can.
So you can see the property outlined in red. It's a fairly large parcel. It is on the south side of Bridgetown Road, just east of the Bridgetown Road and Shady Lane intersection, if you're familiar with Miami Township. The Township Administration Building is just to the left. It has their administration and their firehouse. There's an office on Bridgetown Road just to the west of the property. And then across the street are single family homes, and there's a single family home to the east along Bridgetown Road. The next slide will show the plan. The request would be to construct a 2,000 square foot bank, a 4,000 square foot office building. Both of those would be the top of the screen on the Bridgetown Road side, and then a 16,000 square foot retail strip building, which is located to the back. They're the gray shapes on the proposed plan. The the zone change was for a property. The reason that the property is currently zoned DD planned multiple residence. This site was approved by the county commissioners for a condominium development previously several years ago. That condominium development never was constructed, obviously, and now they're changing it to retail. This request was recommended for approval by staff. The Regional Planning Commission held a meeting on February 6th, where they unanimously recommended approval. The Zoning Commission held a hearing on February 20th, where they also unanimously recommended approval of this. This property has gone through the township trustees as well. The township trustees recommend approval. And there are 5 conditions related to landscaping and fencing and things like that. So unless there are any questions, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. We've got two individuals that would like to comment to this issue. I'm going to call Chris McClatchy first. I believe you have to unmute. There we go.
Thank you very much. I don't have much more to add than what Mr. Snyder provided, other than we have been going through this project for a little over a year now. We have received no negative feedback from any of the neighbors or any of the individuals at all. We've been unanimously approved through all phases of this, and we would simply ask commissioners to approve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mark Rosenberger is also on to comment.
Commissioner, I have nothing else to add other than if the commissioners have any questions.
Okay.
Answer.
Brian, as always, just walk us through the public portion of this, the meetings that took place. And I'm hearing that there was no opposition as it went through. Just to outline for us what hearings were held.
Sure. So this, as I said earlier, this property's been part of a zone change process twice now. There have been up to this point, this is the 10th public meeting that's been held on this property in the last several years. And we have not had a resident attend any of those meetings or present any opposition to any of the projects. I did speak with Paul Beck, Miami Township trustee, this morning. He reiterated the township's support for the project, and I did ask him specifically about the one neighbor to the east. And he stated that he knew the family and that he knew that they were aware of projects in the past, but he's not heard any opposition from them, and they've never attended any of the trustees meetings. We know that we've sent notice to that property owner, and they've never attended any of our meetings either. So up to this point, we've had numerous opportunity for public involvement, and we've had no public involvement at all in this property.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Commissioner
No
Dumas?
questions.
Park?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Thank you, especially to the two of you that weighed in from the public. So I will now move that we close the hearing for this item.
Second.
Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I think they're muting and I'm muting. And okay, Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Park.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just say that, Scott, let's leave Jackie on because we're going to keep having to hear from Jackie. So, all right, thank you very much for the input related to that hearing. We have a second hearing on the agenda.
Commissioner Dreehouse, if I may, just
Yes.
briefly, I'll prepare a resolution of approval to have in front of you at the meeting in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, our next hearing is to consider the vacation of easement right-of-way for Remington Road.
Second.
Yeah, I was going to suggest we open the hearing. Thank you, Commissioner Dumas.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you. I can see that Brian has walked away, so I assume he's not the one that's going to outline this. Eric, is this yours?
No, that would be Eric.
All right, so Eric Beck from the county engineer is going to offer some background on this.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. This is a request from a property owner, Mr. Purdy, on Remington Road, which is also known as Old Loveland Madeira Road. This is a vacated roadway that runs between him and the neighbor. He was desiring to use the property to build a shed. In order to build on the property, he requested the vacation. We've gone through the process of notifying all the adjacent property owners and all the public utilities as well. We have got no negative comments back from any of those, and we have reviewed their plat and their deed and are in agreement with what they're proposing. The plat is shown on, you should be able to see that right now. We did not extend this vacation all the way out to Remington Road, existing Remington, because we did not want a landlocked parcel to the south. We cut it off where we did to allow that parcel to have access to a public access out to the to the public street.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, thank you, Eric. Thank you for that. I'm going to move that we close this hearing.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Park.
Yes.
Thank you. And Eric, I assume that you will prepare a resolution for us within a week or two.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm.
All right, let's move back. As far as public comments, I did receive an email from Herschel Daniels, which will be entered for the record. Jack.
Okay.
Let's move to comments and motions of the commissioners. Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple comments. As we all do, we're keeping the needs and the safety of our residents in the forefront of our mind. And now with us having to make hard decisions as it relates to the budget, I have been thoroughly going through it to see how we can continue to provide quality services and sustain those services. I continue to get emails and communication from the constituents as it relates to not only the virus, but also the county and what's going on with the county. And as we all have been watching and listening to all the briefings, and I'll continue to do that as we move forward in the county. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've already made my comments. Administrator Aludo, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. No significant comments on today's agenda. I did just want to inform the board that as we continue to move through the COVID-19 crisis, we're going to continue to see various financial implications, both with our own organization as well as some of our other partners. One of the more heavily impacted being in the tourism visitor landscape, and one of our partners that will continue to be impacted is the Cincinnati Museum Center and Union Terminal. They're currently, because of the economic shutdown and the closure of that facility, my understanding is they're experiencing a loss of between $1 and $2 million a month during that closure. Now they're taking actions to reduce their expenses and reduce their exposure from a financial perspective. But if this goes on much longer, the impact will be even more harmful. So the Union Terminal sales tax, which has formally concluded, but will continue to see some revenue produced over the next several months due to the lag in sales tax, is slated to close with a balance. The agreement that we have with Union Terminal foresaw that likelihood, actually, and indicated that balance would be discussed through the Union Terminal Restoration Advisory Committee, and that there would be a process for transferring that balance over the course of a year to Union Terminal for the future maintenance and preservation of that facility. Due to the current economic environment, Union Terminal and Cincinnati Museum Center has requested an advance of that balance, at least in the amount of, there's roughly 20 million in the balance. It may be just north of that. They have requested at least 7 million of that, possibly up to 10, for the purpose of paying off some construction debt that they still have, that will free up around $500,000 of operating cash for them, as well as some other funds for some additional maintenance and capital. We're currently reviewing that request. We're reviewing it with the prosecutor. We are inclined to support it and recommend it from an administration's perspective, and we would be bringing it forward to appropriate next week. Because of our virtual meeting status, though, it may be coming as a by leave, so I wanted to bring it up in my comments today just from the perspective of transparency, and we will work with the clerk to list it formally on the agenda as soon as we can. I've sent the commission something on this through a written communication, but I did just want to bring it up today from a transparency perspective, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or over the course of the week.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, the only question I had was about, and it's really a question of the prosecutor, about whether or not, that use is allowable. And I know you're tracking that down because these dollars were voted in by constituents for a specific purpose. And so I know that you are trying to get an answer to that question. And from what I can tell, and from what you've advised, they are appropriately being used. And I think it's a good time to provide some relief where we can. So, I will be happy to be supportive of that, assuming that the prosecutor's opinion marries what we all think is happening here. So beyond that, any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Madam President, that was really exactly my question as it relates to the revenue is earmarked only for Union Terminal. And so that sounds like what you're looking into. That was one of my concerns, but it is only earmarked for them because it is their reserve. So.
Right,
that's
thank
fine.
you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Parks?
No comment.
Okay, great. All right, Jeff. So, from what you've said, we may see this come on a regular agenda or by leave, given that we're only meeting once a week. And so just give us a heads up as this comes forward.
Will do, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
And I have no other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right,
Madam
no,
President.
you have no other by leaves. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to thank you and to thank, budget staff and all the staff of the county administration. You too are working 24/7. And it has been, it's been a rough schedule and very unpredictable because no one has been through this before. And so I just want to thank you, Jeff, publicly, and staff, Bridget in particular, for keeping us on track and doing all the work, because I know it's been a challenge. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your work.
No, thank you to the board for your guidance, and thanks to all of the county staff that's just doing a great job in a time of real uncertainty. And this is a team effort from the top through the ranks of the organization, and we'll continue to move forward for the community.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. Moving then to the regular agenda. Let me just say as a precursor, this agenda has changed quite a bit in light of the economics of what we're looking at right now in the budget. And so many of these items related to spending have been pulled. So we will walk through that. The one item for the engineer that remains is item number 1. And Eric, could you just tell us what this item does?
That's actually what we reported on the hearing, that we've received the plat and the
Okay.
deed for the Remington Road, and everything looks good on that.
All right, very good. So
Commissioner, you'll just receive that for the
Right.
record.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
receive that for the record, item number 1. I will make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you, Eric. Items 2, 3, 4, and 5 have all been pulled. The consent agenda items, this has also changed. Let me ask before we get into the meat of this, are there any questions or comments related to any of the consent agenda items?
I have no comments or questions.
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So what you are going to see play out here is a bunch of items being pulled again relative to the budget and the financial impact of COVID-19. And I think what you will also see is there is a high priority on making some of these things continue to move, particularly related to JFS and the children, to keep kids safe in our community. So with that precursor, I'm going to try to move through this. All right, so I'm going to move that we approve of consent agenda items, and Jackie, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, 6, 7, and 8, 11 and 12, 16, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35.
Second.
Correct. Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Park.
Yes.
All right, very good. That's all we have on our agenda. Is there anything else anybody
Madam-
would like to say?
Madam President?
Yes.
You have one
No,
more.
I'm sorry, Madam President. We do have one by
Oh,
leave
the
item.
by leave. My bad.
No, I should have brought it up in my comments. It just was not right in front of me.
All right, well,
So
let's just blame you,
we
Jeff.
do have one by leave item on today that relates to providing the administrator the authority. It's a modification to of the personnel policy manual concerning vehicle use policies. There are instances that we're finding in the course of this crisis, especially as we have employees working from home, where it might make sense on specific individual cases for employees to bring vehicles home. We traditionally do not allow that under county policy, but there are some instances where it does make sense, especially where we're trying to keep employees out of buildings and also trying to make their jobs easier by avoiding them having to travel a half an hour in, then a half an hour back. So we wanted to, during the course of this crisis at least, and we'll review it as we move forward, but during the course of this crisis, provide the administrator the authority to make those decisions on vehicle take-home policies on the fly, and of course, keep the board updated as we make those, but just so that they don't require a week's worth of time before we get in front of the commission. So I would defer to any questions the board might have.
Any questions on this item? It's a resolution.
No questions.
No questions. Thank you.
All right, then I'm going to move that we pass the resolution revising the appendix of the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners Personnel Policy Manual concerning vehicle use policies and procedures.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Park.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we go, I do want to give a big shout out to the video team who is down the hall somewhere. Thank you for your work, because without you, we couldn't have done this. So thanks so much for everything that you're doing for the county as well. With that, I'm going to move
Madam
to
President?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
If I could just make a comment as it relates to something that Jeff had said earlier about Cincinnati Visitors Bureau and how they will be so hit and the impact of what's going on. And I certainly agree with that, but I'm just wondering, as a commission and as administration, do we need to make a list, because everybody is going to be impacted, including us? How do we decide which ones that we are going to be able to help? What priority are we going to have, and how are we going to make that list? Because everyone is going to be coming to us for some help, and I understand that. But I'm just wondering if we can not get order, but have some priority of how that decision is made. That's all.
So, yeah, thank you. On that point, I would actually should have mentioned this. So Jeff was part of one of the briefings, I think it was yesterday, and he outlined some of the challenges to the county, because we are going to see a significant reduction related to our sales tax income, which is one of our primary sources of revenue. And so he has reached out to all the electeds and the department heads throughout the county, asking them in partnership with us to try to figure out a way to reduce their budgets and create some strategies here that we can implement probably within the next week or two, something like that. The item in front of us today related to Union Terminal, and I think we were both kind of asking the same question. Those dollars are restricted because of the nature of that levy to only Union Terminal. And so the voters voted on that. So we, at this moment in time, through the levy dollars that are sitting there to be used for that purpose, can release some of the dollars a little bit early to provide some relief to them. And so that's what we did. Those dollars could not have been used otherwise, but you are correct that we need to have some kind of strategy, and I know Jeff's working on this, moving forward, where we collectively figure out where the priorities lie, and if there are any additional federal dollars that are available, how are we going to prioritize those dollars? And so, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the work of the next few weeks, and every one of us will be involved trying to figure that out.
Right. And I did get a great summary from Jeff yesterday on all of that. So,
Jeff, did I misstate any of that?
No, I think that's correct, and I may have been a little unclear in my initial comments because I think I did mention tourism and visitors, and I was using that more as an umbrella term for all of the entities out there, like Union Terminal, et cetera, those who are impacted because of the economic shutdown, and whether it's museums or theaters, that type of thing. And as Commissioner Summer Dumas mentioned, in terms of bringing order to that, as you indicated, Commissioner Driehaus, really the only reason for the entertaining of the request on Union Terminal is specifically because we have that balance there that is specifically for that purpose. But the broader question does remain, and that is, as Commissioner Summer Dumas said, we're going to have a lot of requests for assistance, and how do we bring some order to that? And as we look at the prospect for different channels of federal assistance, we're attempting to right now script some of that out with some ideas for how we might be able to play a role from the county's perspective in that. And I look forward to talking with the board about that over the next week or two.
thank you.
Right. And the added layer to that is that, the dollars are related to COVID-19. And so we'll have to just better understand the interplay there. And the prosecutor's office has been involved. So I tend to be a little overly optimistic about our timing. So Jeff, I'm glad you didn't correct me about my optimistic timing there. So anyways, all right. If there's nothing further, I'm going to move that we adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Driehaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Park.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.